The first thing Brooke noticed was the silence. Not the peaceful kind, the dangerous kind. One moment, the rooftop bar buzzed with laughter, clinking glasses, careless flirting. The next, the air shifted, thick, heavy, as if everyone had collectively decided to hold their breath. Brooke felt it before she understood it, a prickle at the back of her neck, the instinct that told her something had just gone wrong. The man in front of her was still smiling, phone half raised. "So, maybe I get your number?" he asked, voice a little too confident. Brooke opened her mouth to refuse. She never got the chance. A tall figure stepped between them without a word. No apology, no explanation. Just presence. The man's smile vanished instantly. Brooke's gaze lifted, slowly, until it met the back of a broad, dark-clad stranger. He stood close. Too close. The kind of close that erased the rest of the world. She could feel the heat of him, solid and unyielding, like a wall built to stop something worse from reaching her. "Walk away," the stranger said quietly. It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. The man swallowed, nodded once, and disappeared into the crowd without another word. Brooke stared. The stranger didn't turn around right away. He remained there for a moment, as if ensuring the threat, real or imagined, was gone. When he finally faced her, his eyes were cold steel, calculating, old. Gregori Malenkov didn't look like a man who intervened out of kindness. "You should be more careful," he said. Brooke's spine straightened. "I didn't ask for help." A flicker of something interest maybe passed through his expression, gone as quickly as it appeared. "No," he agreed, "you didn't." He stepped back, already dismissing her, as if the interaction were over. It should have been. But Brooke's heart was racing, and anger flared hotter than fear. "Then why did you do it?" Gregori paused. The city lights reflected faintly in his dark eyes as he looked at her again. This time, really looked. Her worn leather jacket, the guarded posture, the faint defiance that hadn't been beaten out of her by disappointment or bad luck. "Because he wouldn't have taken no," Gregori said, "and because tonight that would have become a problem." For who, she wanted to ask. But he was already walking away. Brooke should have left then. She told herself that as she leaned against the bar, fingers tightening around her glass. Men like that didn't cross paths with women like her without consequences. She knew better. She'd learned the hard way that powerful men came with invisible price tags. Still, she stayed. She watched him from a distance. Gregori Malenkov didn't smile, didn't drink much. People approached him carefully, spoke softly, laughed nervously. Even the bartender seemed more respectful with him, as if pouring his whiskey required permission. He didn't belong here. And yet, the entire place seemed to orbit around him. Brooke felt ridiculous for being curious. She had enough problems, overdue rent, a job that barely covered groceries, a past she'd spent years trying to outrun. Mystery men with dangerous auras were not on her list. Yet when he glanced in her direction again, her breath caught. This time, he walked toward her. "You're still here," he said. "So are you." A corner of his mouth twitched, barely. "Most women would have left," Gregori said, "or tried to thank me." "I don't owe you anything." "No," he agreed, "you don't." That answer unsettled her more than arrogance would have. They stood in silence for a moment. The city stretched beneath them, glowing and indifferent. Brooke felt exposed, like he could see through the armor she wore so carefully. "You're not afraid," he observed. "I am," she said honestly. "I just don't let it decide for me." Something shifted then, not warmth, recognition. "Danger has followed you before," Gregori said. It wasn't a question. Brooke's jaw tightened. "You don't know anything about me." "I know you don't belong to anyone," he replied, "and that makes men like him think you're easy to take." Her fingers curled around the glass. "And men like you." For the first time, Gregori hesitated. "I don't take," he said finally. "I protect what's mine." The words settled heavily between them. I'm not yours, Brooke said. I know. That was worse. They didn't exchange numbers. They didn't make plans. When Gregori left, he did so without looking back, flanked by men who appeared from nowhere. Brooke stayed until the night thinned out, until the bar lost its edge and became just another place to be alone. She told herself she'd never see him again. She was wrong. 2 days later, her boss called her into the office, voice tight. "We've got a new client," he said. "Private, powerful, pays well, and he asked for you specifically." Brooke frowned, asked how. "He said you handled pressure well." Her stomach dropped. That evening, she found herself standing in a private lounge that smelled of leather and quiet control. Gregori Malenkov sat across from her, hands folded, gaze unreadable. "You followed me," she accused. "No," he said calmly. "I placed you where you would be safe." "I didn't ask for that." "You need it." She stood her ground. "You don't get to decide my life." Gregori rose slowly, towering but controlled. "Someone already tried to," he said. "I stopped it." Their eyes locked. This wasn't a coincidence. It was a collision. And Brooke realized, with a chill she couldn't shake, that stepping into Gregori Malenkov's world might be the most dangerous and most defining thing she would ever do. Brooke did not sit when Gregori offered the chair. She remained standing, shoulders squared, bag clutched against her side like a shield. The private lounge felt sealed off from the rest of the city, thick walls, muted lights, the kind of quiet that swallowed mistakes whole. "I didn't apply for this," she said. Gregori studied her as if she were a chessboard mid-game. "You didn't need to." "That's not an answer." "It is," he replied calmly, "just not when you like." She exhaled sharply, anger flashing. "You can't just rearrange my life because you decided I needed protection." "I didn't rearrange it," he said. "I redirected a threat." That word again. Threat. Brooke felt it coil in her stomach. From who? Gregori didn't answer immediately. He gestured to the chair again. "Sit, please." The politeness felt calculated, controlled. Against her better judgment, she sat. "2 nights ago," he began, "the man who asked for your number wasn't acting alone. He was testing boundaries." "Testing for what?" she demanded. "For access," Gregori said, "to see who would intervene, who wouldn't." Her pulse quickened, "And you stepped in." "Yes." "Why me?" His gaze held hers, unwavering. "Because you were already on someone's list." Silence pressed in. "I don't run with criminals," Brooke said quietly. "I don't owe anyone, I keep my head down." "That's why you were interesting," Gregori said. "You didn't know you were being watched." Fear slid cold down her spine. "By who?" "By people who don't like unpredictability," he replied, "and who mistake independence for opportunity." She laughed once, hollow. "So your solution was to put me closer to them?" "No," Gregori said, "to put you closer to me." The arrangement was simple, he said. On paper, she was a consultant. Logistics, organization, background coordination, nothing illegal, nothing that couldn't withstand scrutiny. In reality, she was placed where he could see her, where others would think twice. "I won't be owned," Brooke said firmly. "You won't be," Gregori replied, "but you will be seen as untouchable." That sounds like ownership with better branding. A pause. Gregori leaned back slightly. "You are free to walk away." She searched his face for the lie, found none. "And if I do?" "Then I won't stop what's coming," he said evenly. Her breath caught. "You'd let it happen." "I don't protect people who reject protection," he said. "That's not cruelty, it's order." Order? Brooke stared at the table between them. She hated that part of her understood him, hated more that she believed him. "What exactly do you want from me?" she asked. "Your presence," he said. "Your intelligence, your honesty." "And in return?" "Safety," he replied, "and the truth when it matters." She swallowed. For how long? Gregori's eyes darkened. until the danger passes. And when will that be? When the people watching you decide you're no longer available. Available. The word burned. Fine, Brooke said, but on my terms. A slight nod. State them. No secrets that involve my safety. You won't get all the secrets, he said, but you'll get enough. I don't take orders. You won't, Gregori said. You'll make choices, I'll live with them. She almost smiled at that, almost. Working for Gregori Malenkov was like stepping into a different climate. Everything was quieter, sharper. People spoke carefully around him, but not to him. They deferred without question. Brooke noticed the way rooms adjusted when he entered, chairs shifting, voices lowering, tensions settling like dust. He never raised his voice. He didn't need to. Her tasks were legitimate, as promised. Scheduling, reviewing documents, coordinating meetings that never seemed to end but always ended exactly on time. She learned quickly that punctuality was not a preference here, it was survival. And Gregori watched. Not constantly, not obviously, but always. He noticed when she skipped lunch, when she stayed late, when her hands shook slightly after certain phone calls. You don't sleep much, he said one evening as she reviewed files across from him. I sleep enough. That wasn't a question. She kept her eyes on the papers. Insomnia's cheaper than therapy. A pause. Nightmares, he asked. Her pen stilled. No, she lied. Gregori didn't press. He rarely did. He collected truths the way others collected weapons, quietly, patiently. Slowly, the tension between them shifted. Not softened. Deepened. They spoke more, about nothing important at first. Music, cities, the weight of silence. He told her he'd grown up learning that emotions were liabilities. She told him she'd learned that needing people was dangerous. They didn't touch. But sometimes, when they stood too close, the air between them felt charged, like a storm waiting for permission. Brooke hated herself for noticing. The first warning came 3 weeks in. A note slipped under her apartment door. You should leave while you can. No signature. Her hands went cold. She brought it to Gregori the next morning. He read it once, then again. Did you tell anyone where you live? He asked. No. Did you change your routine? No. He folded the note carefully. They're escalating. They, she echoed. The people who don't like not knowing where you belong. She crossed her arms. This is your world. It touched yours, he corrected. And if I quit, they'll assume you're still under my protection, he said. Leaving now changes nothing. Her voice cracked. Then what does? Gregori's jaw tightened. Time and resolve. I didn't sign up for this. No, he said quietly. You were chosen. The word landed heavy. That night, she didn't go home. Gregori insisted she stay in a secured residence, neutral ground, he called it. She called it a gilded cage. Still, when the doors locked behind her, she slept for the first time in days. He checked on her once, just once. You're safe here, he said. For now, she replied. His eyes held something unreadable. I don't do temporary. As weeks passed, the threat lingered like a shadow that refused to move. No direct attacks, no clear enemies, just pressure. Glances held too long. Cars that followed for a block, then vanished. Gregori tightened his circle. Brooke noticed the way his patience thinned, the way his control sharpened into something dangerous. He became more distant, more watchful. You're pulling away, she accused one night. He didn't look up from his phone. I'm focusing. On what? On ending this. You don't get to shut me out. His gaze lifted slowly. I get to do whatever keeps you breathing. That's not your decision. He stood then, closing the distance between them in 3 measured steps. Every decision I make is about consequence, he said quietly. Yours included. Her heart hammered. I didn't ask you to care. No, he said, you didn't. The silence stretched. Then softer, but I do. The admission felt dangerous. She looked away first. The night everything shifted, it rained. A meeting ran late, too late. Brooke insisted on leaving alone. Gregori argued. For once, she won. Halfway home, she sensed it. Footsteps. She turned, empty street. Rain slicked the pavement, blurring reflections. She walked faster. Then a hand brushed her arm. She froze. Easy, a man's voice said. Just want to talk. Her pulse roared. No, she said, you don't. Another figure stepped out of the shadows. We know who you work for, the first man said, and we're wondering if he's worth the trouble. She backed away. You're making a mistake. The second man smiled. We like mistakes. The air changed. A car pulled up fast, too fast, doors opened. Gregori moved like a force of nature. He didn't shout, didn't threaten. His presence alone fractured the moment. The men stiffened. You're done, he said calmly. One of them laughed nervously. Relax, we were just... Gregori stepped closer. You were testing my patience. The men retreated. When they were gone, the street felt hollow. Brooke's legs shook. Gregori turned to her, fury barely contained beneath his control. I told you not to walk alone. You don't own me, she snapped, fear turning sharp. No, he said, but I will not bury you because you wanted independence. The words cut deep. She shoved his chest. I didn't ask for this life. His hands came up instantly, not to restrain but to steady her as she swayed. I know. Her breath hitched. I know, he repeated, quieter, but you're in it now. She sagged against him before she could stop herself. He held her. Just held her. For a moment, the world narrowed to rain and breath and the steady beat of his heart beneath her ear. Then she pulled back. This can't happen, she said. I know, he replied. Neither of them believed it. After that night, the distance between them vanished. Not physically, emotionally. They spoke in looks, in pauses, in things left unsaid. The danger pressed closer, and with it, the truth neither wanted to face. Gregori was losing control. Not of his empire. Of himself. Brooke saw it in the way his eyes followed her, in the way his jaw tightened when others spoke to her, in the way his voice softened only with her. She also saw the cost. Enemies grew bolder, whispers spread. A boss with a weakness was a liability. You're becoming a problem, one of his lieutenants warned her indirectly. I didn't ask to be, she replied. Then be careful, the man said. Men die for less. That night, Brooke confronted Gregori. They're watching you, she said, because of me. They were watching long before you, he replied. I'm a distraction. You're a risk, he corrected, and one I chose. Her voice shook. Why? He looked at her for a long time. Because I know what it's like to survive without anyone, he said, and I won't let that be your story if I can stop it. Tears burned her eyes. You can't save me. No, he agreed, but I can stand with you. The admission felt like a promise. Or a curse. Outside, unseen forces tightened their grip. And somewhere in the darkness, someone decided that Brooke was no longer just leverage. She was the trigger. The first sign that everything was about to break was Gregori's silence. Not the usual, controlled quiet that followed him like a shadow, but something sharper, more deliberate. Brooke noticed it in the way he stopped asking where she was going, in the way his eyes lingered on her just a second too long before he looked away, as if memorizing her. Distance, she realized, had become his new weapon. You're shutting me out, she said one evening, standing in the doorway of his office while the city bled orange through the windows behind him. I'm keeping you alive, he replied without looking up. That's not the same thing. His jaw tightened. It is in my world. I'm not in your world, she shot back. I'm trapped in it. That made him look at her. For a moment, the mask slipped. She saw the exhaustion beneath the power, the weight of decisions that never stopped coming. You think I don't know that, he said quietly. Every day, I calculate how many ways this ends badly for you. And yet you keep going. Yes, he said, because stopping would be worse. Brooke shook her head. You don't get to decide what I can survive. Gregori stood slowly, the room seeming to contract around him. You already proved you can survive, he said. What I'm trying to prevent is what it will cost you. The words hit too close. She turned away before he could see the tears she refused to shed. The warning came the next morning. Not subtle, not anonymous. A message delivered directly to Gregori, sealed in a way that made his men stiffen the moment it was placed on the table. He read it alone. When he emerged from his office, his expression was carved from stone. We're moving you, he told Brooke. No, she said instantly. It's not a request. I won't run, she snapped. I didn't do anything wrong. That's irrelevant, Gregori said. They're no longer interested in testing. They're sending a message. To who? She demanded. To me. The truth settled like lead in her chest. This is about power. Yes, he said, and about proving I can be hurt. Brooke laughed bitterly. Congratulations, they succeeded. He closed the distance between them, voice low. That's exactly why you're leaving. Running makes me look weak, she said. No, Gregori replied. It makes me look desperate. She froze. That's what they want, he continued. They want to see me choose you over control. And what did you choose? She asked. Silence stretched. Finally, he said, I'm choosing to end this. Her heart stuttered. End what? Us, he didn't say. But she heard it anyway. The safe house was quieter than any place she'd ever been. Too quiet. Brooke paced the room, nerves fraying with every minute that passed without news. Her phone stayed dark. No messages, no calls. Hours later, Gregori arrived. There was blood on his knuckles. Not much, but enough. She stood. What happened? Nothing you need to worry about, he said. Her voice shook. You're bleeding. It's handled. Tell me the truth. He looked at her for a long time, then nodded once. They won't touch you again. Relief flooded her, followed immediately by fear. What did you do? I reminded them, he said, of consequences. Her chest tightened. You can't keep doing this. I can, he replied, and I will. For how long? She demanded. Until you burn everything down. Gregori's gaze hardened. If that's what it takes. She stepped back as if struck. That's not protection, she whispered. That's obsession. The word hung between them, dangerous and undeniable. Leave, he said suddenly. What? Tonight, he said. I'll arrange everything, new city, new identity if you want it. Her heart pounded. You're sending me away. Yes. Because of them. Because of me. The honesty in his voice scared her more than any threat. You don't get to decide that alone, she said. I do, he replied, because this is where it ends. She laughed softly, broken. You think walking away will stop this? I think staying will destroy you, he said. And what about you? His eyes darkened. I was destroyed a long time ago. That night, Brooke didn't sleep. She watched the city lights from the window, knowing she was seeing it for the last time. Knowing that whatever she felt for Gregori, fear, anger, something dangerously close to love, was being cut out of her life without anesthesia. Just before dawn, she heard voices. Raised, urgent. She opened the door. Gregori stood in the hall with two of his men. The tension was unmistakable. They found the safe house, one of them said. Not this one, the secondary. Gregori's expression didn't change. How? Someone talked. Brooke's blood ran cold. Are we compromised? Not yet, Gregori said, but we're close. The men left. Brooke faced him. This is spiraling. Yes, he said, which is why you're leaving now. No, she said. He turned sharply. This isn't a debate. I won't be used as your weakness or your excuse, she said. If this ends, it ends with the truth. His voice dropped. The truth is you matter. The words cracked something open inside her. And that terrifies you, she said. Yes. She stepped closer, heart racing. Say it again. He didn't. Instead, he cupped her face with hands that had ended wars and started them, but now trembled slightly. This is the last moment I can still protect you, he said. Please don't make me choose again. Tears slid down her cheeks. You already did. She leaned into his touch, forehead resting against his chest. The world felt unbearably small. I don't regret you, he said softly. She pulled back. Then don't erase me. The attack came that afternoon. Not loud, not chaotic. Calculated. A convoy intercepted, a route compromised, orders crossed. Brooke was moved before she understood what was happening. Doors slammed. Engines roared. The air vibrated with urgency. Gregori stayed behind. No, she said, panic surging. You're coming with me. I can't, he said. Don't do this. If I leave, he said, gripping her arms, they'll follow. If I stay, I draw them away. Her voice broke. You promised you wouldn't do temporary. His eyes softened painfully. This is permanent. She shook her head. You're sacrificing yourself. I'm correcting a mistake, he said, letting myself want something. The words shattered her. She kissed him. Not desperate, not rushed. A quiet, aching promise pressed into a single moment. When she pulled back, her hands were shaking. If you die. I won't, he said. But they both knew he might. The door closed between them. The fallout was swift. News traveled in whispers. Alliances shifted. A challenge answered with finality. Gregori emerged victorious, but not untouched. By the time Brooke was safe, truly safe, the world she'd known was gone. Weeks passed. No word. No explanation. Just silence. She tried to move on, tried to believe the danger had passed. Then, one evening, a familiar presence filled the room behind her. You're terrible at pretending you don't listen for footsteps, Gregori said. She turned slowly. He looked thinner, scarred, alive. Tears spilled freely as she crossed the space between them. You disappeared. I needed them to believe I'd lost everything, he said. Her voice shook, including me. His eyes softened, especially you. She swallowed. Was it worth it? He didn't answer right away. Then, ask me again when this is over. She reached for his hand. He didn't pull away. But the war was not finished. It had only changed shape. And this time, there would be no turning back. The world did not snap back into place after Gregori returned. It settled, slowly, carefully, like shattered glass being reassembled with the knowledge that the cracks would always show. Brooke learned that safety was not the absence of danger, it was the presence of choice. Gregori no longer moved her without explanation. He no longer spoke in half-truths designed to keep her at arm's length. Whatever war had followed his disappearance had burned itself out in the quiet, ruthless way his world preferred. Enemies were not erased. They were neutralized, balance restored. But something else had shifted too. Power no longer sat on him the same way. He seemed human. They lived in a place that wasn't a fortress and wasn't a cage. Just walls, windows, light. Brooke woke up one morning and realized she hadn't checked exits or escape routes in days. The danger had passed. The consequences had not. Gregori stood by the window most mornings, coffee untouched, eyes tracking the horizon like he was waiting for the past to rise up and demand payment. You don't have to stay, he said one day without turning around. She didn't answer right away. "I know," she said finally. "That's why I am." He turned then, something raw in his expression. "You could have left after everything." "I could," she agreed, "but I didn't survive all of that just to run from peace." He nodded slowly, as if accepting a verdict. "I can't give you a normal life," he said. "Not completely." "I don't want normal," she replied. "I want honest." That earned her a quiet, fractured smile. They didn't pretend the damage didn't exist. Some nights, Gregori woke drenched in sweat, shadows clinging to him like old debts. Brooke didn't ask questions. She just stayed. Her presence was not a cure, but it was an anchor. Some days, Brooke felt the weight of everything she'd almost lost, the ease with which her life had nearly been erased. On those days, Gregori listened, really listened. No solutions, no commands. Just space. The slow burn between them never erupted into something reckless. It deepened instead, built on restraint, trust, and the shared knowledge of what it cost to stand beside each other. One evening, months later, they returned to the rooftop bar where it had all begun. Same city, same lights. Different people. Brooke leaned against the railing, wind tugging at her hair. "This is where you scared a man into vanishing." Gregori's expression softened. He scared himself. She smiled. "You never apologized, you know." "For what?" "For stepping between me and a choice." He considered that. "I'm not sorry I did it." "I know," she said gently. "I'm glad you did." He studied her, eyes searching. "If I hadn't, would you have been fine?" "Yes," she said honestly. "Eventually." "And now?" She reached for his hand. "Now I'm better." The music swelled around them. Laughter, life, ordinary and extraordinary all at once. "You were never meant to belong to my world," Gregori said quietly. "No," Brooke agreed, "but I chose to stand at the edge of it." "And if it comes back," he asked, "the danger?" She met his gaze without flinching. "Then we face it together, or we walk away together, but no more sacrifices made in silence." Something in him eased at that. "I don't deserve you," he said. She squeezed his hand. "Good, then don't waste me." Gregori Malenkov never stopped being feared. But he stopped being alone. Brooke never forgot how fragile safety could be, but she stopped living like it was already gone. They built something neither of them had planned for. Not a fairy tale, not redemption, something quieter, stronger. A partnership forged in fire and held together by choice. And every now and then, when another man looked too long or stepped too close, Gregori would feel the old instinct rise. But now, he didn't step in front of her. He waited. Because Brooke didn't need saving. She had simply needed someone willing to stand beside her when the world tried to decide her fate. And this time, the silence that followed wasn't dangerous at all. It was peace. When I first started writing Brooke, I didn't want another protagonist who needed saving. I wanted someone who was already broken, not in a dramatic way, but in that quiet, familiar way we all know. Overdue rent, insomnia, the exhaustion of having to be strong all the time. She reminds me of so many women I've known and been, on certain nights who forgot they could be fragile without being weak. Gregori was harder. Early drafts painted him as a romanticized villain, and that bothered me. I only found my way forward when I realized he wasn't a bad boy. He was a traumatized man who learned early that to love was to lose, and that protection meant control. Writing the scene where he admits, "I was destroyed a long time ago," kept me up at night, because I had to admit I've loved people like that too. Broken souls who believe the only way to care is to possess. I didn't write this story to say that intense relationships justify control. I wrote it to show that even damaged people can learn to love without suffocating, as long as they choose, every single day, to let go of the fear a little bit more. If you finished this story feeling like the silence at the end is different from the silence at the beginning, then I did my job right. Thank you for staying until the end.